What is up, everybody? My name is Robert and this is Review Clue. And yes, we're back at my PC again because today I want to do another tutorial for you. But today we want to look at a completely different software, and that is the world of Snapchat Lens Studio. If you don't know what Lens Studio is, it is an application that allows you to create AR lenses to be used within Snapchat and certain other applications. Now, the reason I wanted to do this tutorial is because this is something that I've been exploring a lot recently, both with my work and in my free time. I find it absolutely thrilling and interesting to discover just what we can do with AR technology. In particular with interactions, because it can sometimes be hard to interact in augmented reality. When we've got the Snapchat lens and cameras up, we want to change something, we sometimes have to go and tap on the UI on the screen, and that can really take away from the experience. So what if we could go ahead and use our fingers and do finger tracking? So we just track the finger, and as soon as it interacts with a button, it does that action. Well, that is completely possible, and that's what we're going to talk about today, how we can go hands-free with our interactions in terms of not having to tap the screen. So there are a couple of things that we're going to need to get started, and we are going to be doing some coding. So if you don't feel comfortable coding, then this is probably quite a good place to start. It's not too involved, it's not too difficult, and by the end of this, we'll have a really simple lens that will allow you to try on a ton of different glasses and be able to use your finger to move between those 6 different pairs. Let's go ahead and grab a video of what we're going to achieve by the end of this, and then we move over to my PC to actually get started building it. Okay, so here we are in Lens Studio, and this is a brand new project. There's nothing interesting or new here. The first thing we're going to have to do is import the 2 assets that we may want to use. In our case, some glasses and some UI elements. So we can go up to the asset library at the top here and search glasses. And we're going to use that first set that we find. This has a few different sets of glasses, I think 6. And we're going to be able to flick between those 6 sets of glasses with the next and the previous button based upon either a tap of the screen or, more importantly, with our finger tracking, so we can go hands-free with those interactions. As soon as this is imported, we can drag it onto our camera and it will start tracking immediately. The other thing that we're going to need is one of the UI packs that Snapchat have created. This can be downloaded online as an ISO file. And as soon as we have that ISO file, we can go ahead and import it, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. So let's drag those glasses under the camera, and there we go. Those glasses are on our user here, ready to go. Next up, we want to create an orthographic camera for all of our UI. I've found that the best way to do this is to just create a screen transform. We won't need the full frame region or anything, but we can right-click that orthographic camera that's just been created, import an object, and in our case it's the UI widgets.iso. Clicking it, we can see that there is a new object under here that is disabled. As soon as we enable that, we get a ton of different UI elements that we can use in our builds from now on. All we really care about is the UI rounded, so everything else can go. We'll just select them all and delete. So here's our button, but of course we don't really want it to say button. We want 2 of these, one to say next and one to say previous. So this one is our next button. And then we'll take it, duplicate it, and this one is going to say previous. Now, of course, we'll probably want to name these objects as well so that we can keep track of it as this begins to become bigger and bigger. So we've got next button. And we have previous button. Nice and simple. Let's go ahead and drag those into the 2 corners ready to go. We'll drag next all the way down to the bottom here, and we will drag previous all the way down to the bottom. There, keeping them in line with each other, and we can always move these as and when we need to as well. If we take a look at these buttons, we can see that they have a few custom callbacks. So we can do the event callback, and we'll want to do a custom function, but right now we haven't written any functions for them to do. So under our glasses object, we can add a new component, and let's add a new script. But we don't have one right now, so we'll have to create one in our bottom left here. So let's create a new script. And again, we want to rename it just to keep things nice and simple and clean. We'll call it Glasses Manager. This is JavaScript code. If you haven't done JavaScript code, don't worry too much because I've got it all here and we're going to talk through it line by line. It's really simple though. The first thing we're doing is we're defining our inputs. What does this code need to know? And in our case, it's going to need an array of scene objects called glasses. This is where all of our glasses are going to sit that we can flick between. Now, the reason that we've chosen, you could also do this within a list, but I thought arrays would be the easiest way to do it. Just under here as well, we have a variable called current glasses. This is going to be an integer, which is going to hold which pair of glasses we are currently showing to the user, so we can easily flick from the next to the previous. We are then creating two simple functions underneath. The script.api set. So script.api means that this is now an API call, and this can be called from any other script within the app or the lens. For now, we don't really need to print next glasses, so we can actually remove that line. However, we do need these 3 lines. These are a really simple for loop where we're going to take a variable, which is called I, and it's going to start off at 0 because that's where an array starts. An array starts at 0 and will end wherever we've told it to. In our case, there's 6 glasses, so it would end at 5. As long as it is less than the length, we're going to go I++. So we're going to iterate on that I every single time we go through this loop. And we're just going to go ahead and disable each pair of glasses that we see. And just under that as well, we're then going to take the current glasses and we're going to do a really quick check just to see whether it is less than the length of the glasses array. So have we reached the end of the glasses? If we haven't, then we're just going to add 1 to that number. If we have, then we're going to come back to 0 because that's the start of that array again. And then we're just going to enable that singular pair of glasses that we want to show the user. It's pretty much the same for the previous glasses, however this time we are going minus as long as the current glasses are greater than 0. If it is 0, then we go ahead and set it to the highest number of the array. Let's go ahead and save that. And we can add our glasses manager script there. There we go. And we see glasses values. We'll need to add every single pair of glasses that we want to see. So we know that there are 6 pairs, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and drag each one of those on. Funky animated, aviator, cat, heart, nerd, and round. So there we go. What we can go ahead and do now is go down to our next and previous buttons. We'll start off with the next button. And we will assign that script. So on our camera, we've got glasses placed under, and then we've got the script there. And the function name is next glasses. So we're going to take that and pop it straight into there. As soon as our lens resets, we should be able to click next. And there we go. We can see that that changes our glasses to the next one. We can do the same for the previous button. So let's go ahead and do that now. We know we want a custom function. It's going to be on our camera, that one there. On press down, we are going to call the function previous glasses. And there we go. Again, this is going to reset our lens, but now when we press the previous button, it flicks between them. It really is that simple to create the UI that we want. I love how simple this is. However, this now means that we can go ahead and tap on the screen to move between them, but what if we wanted to go hands-free and not have to touch our screen? Well, we can do something called hand tracking. So let's go up to the top again. But this time we're going to want to track an object in 3D space and do the hand tracking. There we are. So next up, we're going to want to do that hand tracking. The way we can do that is with the object tracking, and we can do hand tracking here. And we have our image here, which is currently just a default image, which is going to track to the hand. But we can't currently see that, and we don't really want to just track to the hand. We want to track to the little finger. So let's go ahead and have a look at the center here. We can see that hand tracking is set to our type and the attachment point is center, but that's not the case. We want our index finger. So we're going to choose index finger, index joint 0. And now we can see that that image there has moved to there, but we don't want it that big, so let's make it that big and pop it right about there. Now, if we changed one of our lenses to object tracking finger counting, let's say, we can now see right there that it's tracking to our index finger. That is super cool, right? So now we can track our finger and we know the position of that image. We are also going to want the position of the images of these buttons. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to check how close this image is to this button. If it falls within a certain threshold, then we're going to activate whatever trigger it is. So let's go ahead and create that script next. So again, we're going to click plus, script, and we're going to call this one Interaction Manager. Again, I've got all the scripts already set up here. And we'll call it, we will change its name actually to Next Interaction Manager, because we're going to want one of these for our next button, one of these for our previous button. Let's open up our script, paste it in, and let's take a look at what we're doing this time. So this time we have 3 inputs. 2 screen transforms, A and B. We could probably be a little more descriptive with those. One of them is going to be our button, so let's call it button. And our first one is going to be called finger. So now whenever we go ahead and do a check here, we are going to want to make sure that we're changing A to finger and B to button. So finger, finger, button, button, and let's quickly talk about what it's actually going to be doing here. So we have an on-update event. So this is going to be running every single frame that the app is updating. We're going to take 2 positions, position A and position B. So all we're going to do is we are going to take the position of our finger, or the image on the finger, and then locate a local point to real-world space. But then we're going to zero out the z-axis. So whenever we're looking at in 3D space, we have the y, the x, and the z. Whenever we are talking in this sort of 2D space that we've got here, we don't really care about that z-axis, so let's set that to 0 so we know it's definitely going to collide. We're going to do that with both of them. So then we're going to get a distance, and that distance is going to be position A's distance to position B. If that distance is ever below 0.8, or realistically we could probably set it as a variable in the top here. So let's do that, so then we can easily change that on the fly. Input, component, and we care about this. We actually don't want a component, do we? We want a integer, or a float value actually, because obviously we may want it to be a point or something. So an input float, and we're going to call this one we're going to call it distance. So now, just like how we're calling all the others here, we can do script. Oh, we can't call it distance, can we? Because we've already got a distance variable here. So let's call it distance threshold. Let's grab that distance threshold and replace that 0.8 with our script dot distance threshold. Same again down here. And then we're actually going to do a check. So if we are within that threshold and we haven't already triggered this event, then we're going to say that we've triggered the event, and then we're going to call the script API for next glasses. We're going to add that trigger object to the one that we created before with that script. Otherwise, we are going to set it to 0 because we haven't interacted with it again. And we're going to print out. We don't care about printing out, so let's remove that for now. And then we're going to have an update event that we are going to create an event for and then bind it to the update function. So it happens every single update or every single frame that the app is in use. We'll probably want to tie this to the actual button. So this is for the next button. We can go ahead and add a new script component. And this script component is, of course, the one that we just made for the next interaction manager. We'll click OK. And it's already complaining at us that we haven't assigned all of these values. So for finger, we of course want to grab the finger, which is the object tracking 0, which really needs a new name. So let's rename it to finger. Go back to our next, and the button is, of course, itself. The threshold that we want is 0.08, sorry. And the trigger object, so the place that the script is on, is going to be our camera, and then place under camera. Let's go ahead and duplicate that script, Control D. This time changing its name to previous interaction manager. Opening up previous interaction manager. This time the only difference being we now want to call the previous glasses. If it is called, it really is that simple. Let's just double check that we've called that correctly. And same biz as before, we can go ahead and add a new component, which is going to be the script. And it's going to be the previous interaction manager. It's going to complain because we haven't assigned the finger or anything else. So finger, button, 0.8, and camera there. So for now, let's go ahead and actually create a new object within our UI panel. Because for now, we need to test this. We need to make sure that this is definitely going to work. And we can do that quite quickly by duplicating one of these buttons. In fact, we don't even need to use the button. Let's go ahead and use the little finger that we've got here. We've already got the tap me, move me thing still here. So we can use this as our test object. So let's go to the next button. And instead of checking against the finger, we'll check against the tap. And then as we go ahead and drag that tap down towards our button, as soon as it gets close enough, it should there we go. So we can see that did it there, and again, and again, and again. And it will be the same with the previous button, but let's go ahead and change that back to our finger and just remove that tooltip because we don't need that tooltip. And there we go. We can go ahead and save and build this lens directly to Snapchat, and then we've got that finger tracking built directly in. And if we find that it's too sensitive or not sensitive enough, we can really easily change that distance threshold to be as high or as low as we need it to be. So there we have it, guys. That is just how easy it is to get started with finger tracking in Lens Studio and implementing it into one of our lenses. I really do hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did and you're enjoying this kind of content, then why not let me know in the comment section down below and get subscribed while you're down there as well. It means the absolute world to me. As I go on this journey learning a little bit more about Lens Studio, I'd love to do more of these tutorials. So if that's something you're interested in, do let me know. Anyway, guys, my name's been Robert, this has been Review Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.